So Thursday, I've got my brand new used-ish oxygen sensor put in the exhaust manifold, and I start packing. I have one last meal before I leave civilization and put the car out of the way so Lauren can get in the driveway. First thing in the morning, I'm headed to World of Speed. I met some guys both named John. They had another all-track there. Had a little bit of coffee, but then I got back on the road because I wanted to get started. The car was running a little bit better now, but I pulled into World of Speed, got my coordinates from last year, this year. Then I sat down for a little while, typed them into my phone, made sure my phone had a good charge. Took some pictures of some other gamblers there, and made a plan for what I was going to do. Now, on the way here, each time I stopped, I would turn my MAF sensor a little bit more towards the lean side because I was still blowing a little bit of smoke. And it started popping out of third, and it started popping out of fifth, but I stopped to try to get a bungee cord. They didn't have anything, but I decided to just keep rolling with it. So I've got the MAF sensor turned all the way as far as it'll go to the lean side, and that car is running like a scalded dog. So the first waypoint goes all right, and I take a couple of pictures and jump back in the car. Head on to the second, and I get to the Dogwood Day Use area. I pull in behind some other gamblers, and when I go to pull out, I have to cut the wheel all the way. And the car comes to a complete stop and won't move. Somebody gives me a shove, and I'm able to inch around without turning the wheels to the stop, so I figure it's either brakes, or a CV joint, or a differential, or hopefully not a transmission. But I didn't have much choice, so I had to continue down the road because it was at least another hour and a half before I got to a highway that I might be able to get phone service at. So I was doing a pretty good job keeping wide turns and trying to take it easy on third, kind of rev matching. Came up on a Jeep and was doing pretty well, but then I started losing power, so I smelled a little bit of clutch, got off to the side of the road. The Jeep left me, turned back around and wondered where I went, and he was able to hook a tow strap to my bumper and yank me to a wider spot in the road. I was able to throw my backpack and a few tools in the back of a Crown Vic and jumped in lifted a cord with some Canadians. They gave me a ride into a town that had a McDonald's, and I marked where I parked my car on the map and did some brainstorming and tried to figure out what I could do to keep gambling. So I got off at the McDonald's, walked to a U-Haul place, and tried to rent a truck and a dolly. Unfortunately, that U-Haul place is too small to have pickup trucks, and they didn't have any dollies. So what I did is I reserved a dolly in Bend and rented a box truck, drove all the way to Bend to pick it up, drove back through Sisters, back to my car. Now, when the transmission went out, I wasn't sure exactly what happened. The car will not move unless I've got the clutch all the way in. The shifter has no influence over what gear the car is in. I think it must be stuck maybe third, maybe fourth, I'm not sure. I go to pick it up with the U-Haul truck, and my first plan is to drop the ramps, set the emergency brake on the car, put the clutch in and hold it with the club, and then back the truck up under the car. Well, that doesn't work. It buries the back wheels of the truck, gets it stuck, and buries the edge of the trailer. So then, plan B was to use my tow strap on the hooks on the bumper and feed them in through the ratchets on the U-Haul trailer. I cinched them up, wrapped blankets around them because I was getting them awful tight, and then using a breaker bar to bend the ratchets. But that still wasn't working. A little bit later, an ambulance pulled up with a couple of gamblers in it, and they tried towing the car from parallel to the box truck, but it was so soft that it just dragged the car sideways. We eventually had to use the ambulance to pull the car back, rev the U-Haul back up to the car, reset everything, and then use two tow straps end to end to pull the car up onto the trailer. Well, we pulled back out onto the street, and they were waiting for me to make sure everything was all right, but I left two big black marks down the road because my back axle wasn't spinning. See, they didn't have any actual car trailers in Bend. The only thing they had left were car dollies, and my car is four-wheel drive. Which means I got under the car and took the drive shaft out, but only 3 of the 4 bolts would come out, so we deliberated for a little while, and I hated to hold up the other gamblers because it was still an estimated time back to Chemalta at about 11 o'clock. So So I revved up the truck, broke the last bolt out, tied up the drive shaft with a strap, and finally hit the road. They stopped on the way out to play in the mud hole, and I stopped to take a picture of a sunset. I got to camp just before midnight, parked the car, and set up camp, and fell asleep watching the stars. Now, I woke up at 6 a.m., but I didn't feel much like doing anything, so I went to the bathroom, ate a breakfast burrito, and walked around the camp for a little while. Then I grabbed a few things, threw them in a bag, and stuck out my thumb. I got picked up by a guy in an 87 Subaru four-wheel drive two-door, and we spent most of the day riding around with him. He didn't have any waypoints, so we just started checking stuff out. We went to Paulina Peak first. It was a pay area, but I was going to float him, but we ended up getting in for free because we were just passing through. We stopped at the ice caves and explored those for a little while, but I was wearing prescription sunglasses and I didn't feel like changing, so I didn't go too far into the cave. But we took a look at our waypoints and we decided we wanted to hit some water, so we tried to explore and see what we could find. We found a campground that was on the edge of a lake, but it didn't look like the water crossings were good, so we decided to hit the top of a mountain. We saw one on the other side of a body of water, we navigated around it, and we headed up.
Watch the big tree on your left. How you doing back there?
Questioning if I want to continue.
We got this.
I'm not getting this close to nipple and not getting nipple.
We are fucking there, dude.
We didn't get there. A storm was rolling in and it was getting late, so we turned the cars around once we found a wide spot in the road and headed down. We saw a campground on the way, and it was really neat. But the guys started talking about Subarus, so I took a break and waited in the car for a little while. I haven't figured out how many miles we did, but it was getting to be a pretty long day, so we started heading back to camp and we hit the Hoopty Cross course, but they were already packing up. It was supposed
Is it badass or what? Right? Yeah, this thing filming.
I got you. Is it recording?
No, not yet.
All right. Fucking A. That cone's one side, we're good. Nope, they put the cones away, who knows. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him go in front of me. You go in front. Go in front. Look at that fucking field
Shattered.
bouncing. Look at the field guy all over the place. Just spewing. He's losing me. Taking off on me.
both sides.
Super cool. Oh shit. I guess it's definitely not worth $20, but
Yeah.
three runs maybe. I would pay 20 runs. Oh,
Word. Hit it.
Jesus, dude. Yeah, I'm not trying to keep up with him, dude. He's sending it.
There it is.
And I don't have an e-brake, dude. This kind of sucks. Oh, it's like front wheel e-brake. Oh, shit.
Goose it.
He's fucking
That'll bring the
big.
back ass around. Yeah. Hit it. That's it. Fucking A. Fucking A. Fuck the berm. Cones both sides.
Fucking rip.
Fucking A.
That was fun.
When we were all through, we grabbed a bite to eat at a gas station and headed back to camp. I walked around a little bit, but I laid down to take a little bit of a nap, woke up and it was darker than a bat's ass. So I just went on back to sleep. In the morning, we packed up and headed back home.